In the previous classes, we learn about that the devices that will be used for the calculation. Then the computers are developed, and by generation there is a changes in the computers. First, there are the five generations of the computer. First generation is invented in the 1914 and till 1956 it is in use. What will be it use? It is use the vacuum tube. You can see at the bottom, it is large in size and expensive, used a lots of electricity and generated a lot of heat. Speed was the 10,000 instructions per second. Maybe that time it will be used not only one vacuum tube, it will use the lots of vacuum tubes. Then it is use the magnetic drums for the memory. जैसा कि अभी हम memory को store करने के लिए we are using the main memory, secondary memory. For nowadays we are using a computer, I'm telling about that. We are using the main memory, secondary memory, RAM and ROM. At that time, for the first generation, it is used the magnetic drums for the memory. Maybe that is my side network issue. I am just thinking that. Don't worry if you are not able to listen me. Just look it, watch it. I will be share this video, recorded video on the Google Classroom. So if you are not able to understand, so you can be learn from that. Most important thing about the generations of computer, you have to be remember which thing. Remember, as I told you, please mute yourself. अगर आपको मेरी आवाज़ नहीं आ रही है तो मेरा नेटवर्क इश्यू मैं बता रही हूँ, बट यू हैव टू बी जस्ट वॉच इट और लिसन इट, ट्राई टू लिसन इट. नहीं सुनाई देता तो मैं इसका रिकॉर्डेड वीडियो भेजने वाली हूँ, तो आप वहां से लर्न कर सकते हो. ओके, प्लीज अगेन आई एम रिक्वेस्टिंग नोबडी हैव टू अनम्यूट देयर सेल्फ. अगर आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट करोगे तो मेरी आवाज़ कट होके आएगी आपको. तो अभी जिसने अनम्यूट किया हुआ है उसको मैं रिक्वेस्ट कर रही हूँ, प्लीज म्यूट कर लीजिए. Okay, so what you have to remember in the generations of the computer, the invention years. Second, which is the main component of the generation, and most important, the examples. First generation example is electronic numerical integrator and computer, ENIAC, universal automatic computer, UNIVAC, EDVAC, then IBM 701, IBM 650. IBM is one type of company, you can say. One more thing you have to remember about the ENIAC. ENIAC had more than 17,000 vacuum tubes. ENIAC have 17,000 vacuum tubes. One computer that is a lots of vacuum tube means it is a hit the lots of hit it will be hit the lots of electricity. Please mute yourself. You are not a kid or you are not in a class 1 or 2. This is the first generation of computer. Now it's time for the second generation. So second generation is invented in 1956 to 1963. Invented in the 1956 to 1963, and it is used the transistor. You are late, so don't wish a good morning. So this is the it is used the transistors. Vacuum tubes are were replaced with the transistor. You can see here the image of it. There are the many more images also given in your textbook, so you can refer also from them. Transistor very small in the size and light in the weight. In compared to the vacuum tube, transistors with comparing of vacuum tube. Remember, in comparing of vacuum tube, transistors were small in the size and light in the weight. It is used magnetic core memory card, which was faster and less expensive, that is a vacuum tube. So it is used the magnetic core memory card, which was the faster and the less expensive. जैसे कि हमारे पास अभी memory card होता है तो उसमें हम बहुत सारे डेटा को स्टोर कर पाते हैं. So like that, That time, that is a one memory card developed called the magnetic core memory card. It was the faster and the less expensive, even it will be stored the more memory. It is used the high level programming language like a Fortran and the Cabal. Have you heard any one language that you all learned, or you can see anyone? Okay, so in the class 6 you have to learn about the one low level programming language. Here is mentioned the high level programming language. In the class 6 you have to learn a one low level programming language, that is a HTML, used for the create the website and web pages. Fortran and the Cabal is a one of other language that is used for the development. It is small in the size compared to the first generation computer. So it's a small in size compared to the first generation computer. जैसे जैसे जनरेशन आगे जाएगी वैसे उसकी साइज छोटी हो जाएगी, and it will be invent the chips to store the memories. It produce the less heat and consume the less power.
पूरी स्क्रीन में ब्लैक दिख रही है।
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Ma'am.
पूरी स्क्रीन
Okay, so it's small in the size compared to the first generation. It will be produce the less heat and consume the less power. जैसे साइज छोटी होगी तो हीटिंग भी कम होगी, इवन पावर भी कम यूज होगा. फर्स्ट जनरेशन कंप्यूटर इज द साइज ऑफ रूम. Second generation computer is a half size of the first generation. So it's definitely consume the, it will be definitely produce the less heat and consume the less power. Operating speed was comparatively high from the first generation. Example, remember one thing, in the first, second, third and the fourth, sorry, on to the third generation, one common word will be came, that is the IBM. IBM सब में आएगा but सबके पीछे अलग अलग होंगे. So differentiate the examples for the first, second and the third generation. That we have in the first generation IBM 701 and IBM 650. In the second generation, example is IBM 7070, IBM 350. Both have a different number, so you have to be remember the IBM examples. Third example is RCA 501. These are, remember the year of invention of the generation of computer, main component of computer and the examples of computer. बाकी तो सब कुछ आप लिख सकते हो कि जैसे डेवलपमेंट हुआ, लेस हीट प्रोड्यूस हुई, पावर विल बी कंज्यूम लेस, size will be smaller. These all things are common. Next thing you have to remember about the language that is only mentioned in the second generation. Now time for the third generation. Third generation is invented in 1964 to 1971. It is used the IC. This is the so a third generation invented in 1964 to 1971. The main component of the third generation is integrated circuit. You can see the image of here. In the book, there is a different image is also given to you. You can also refer that one. Integrated circuit called the ICs used in this generation, means in the third generation. It is faster and more efficient, comparatively small and the less smaller and the less expensive for the earlier two generations. It is use a keyboard for the input and monitor for the output, as we are doing now. Speed of processing was 5 millions per second. 5 millions per second. In the first generation, there are the 10,000 instruction per second. But for the third generation, as we are invented, 5 millions instructions per second. Remember this thing. It is used a high level programming language using the BASIC. In the second generation, we are using the Fortran and the COBOL. Here we are using the BASIC language. Example, PDP-8, PDP-11, ICL 2019, sorry 2900, IBM 360 and IBM 370. These are the examples of the third generation. Now turn for the second generation, fourth generation. So fourth generation is invented in the 1972 to 2010. Okay, so पहले जो हमारे PCs होते थे, now we are using the very large, low scale PCs, means LED PCs. You can say that I have a thin monitors. That is called the LED PC also. But in the previous year, from 1972 to 2010, there are the monitors are used that are not in form of the LED. They have a large in the size, heavy in the weight. So it is used the very large scale integrated circuit. Remember the full form VLSI were used in this generation. It could fit thousands of integrated circuits onto the chip. In the third generation, we are using the very high ICs, means are integrated circuits. But in the fourth generation, what will be happen? There is a one chip we are using that is called the VLSI, and in it we that is a fitted thousand of ICs. It is a more powerful, smaller in the size, reliable, affordable. Process of million of instruction in fraction of second, not in a second, in a fraction of second. You know what is the meaning of fraction that you already learned in the mathematics. Many computers could be connected together to form of computer network. जैसे कि हमारे कंप्यूटर लैब में आप देख सकते हो कि there are the lots of computers we have, and all the computers are connected with each other. So that is called the computer network. So from the 1972 to 2010, for the fourth generation, the computer network is developed. Many computers are connected, so that is called the computer network. Operating system like MS-DOS, Windows, Unix were developed in this generation. अभी भी हम Windows का यूज कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 8.1, Windows 10, Windows 13, Windows 13.1. Examples: desktop PC by IBM. The PC will be invented by the IBM, जो हम पहले यूज करते थे, that is not a LED. Then Macintosh by the Apple. This is the fourth generation, last generation of computer, that is the fifth generation, present and beyond, developed in the 2010. The VLSI technology developed into the ultra large scale integration called the VLSI technology. तो अभी जो हम एलईडी कंप्यूटर्स यूज कर रहे थे, जो आपने हमारे कंप्यूटर लैब में देखे होंगे, हमारे स्कूल्स में देखे होंगे, दैट इज अ एग्जांपल ऑफ द फिफ्थ जनरेशन कंप्यूटर. इवन यू आर यूजिंग नाउ मोबाइल फोन, लैपटॉप्स, tablets, these are all are the examples of the fifth generation computer. In that we are using the ultra large-scale integration. In the fourth generation, we are using the VLSI, and in the fifth generation, we are using the ULSI. That is a combination of lots of VLSI. The ULSI allow the placing more than a million circuits element on the single chips. And in the fourth generation, one more thing we are forgot, that in the fourth generation, that is a development of CPU will be held. Fourth generation में CPU का development हुआ था. Based on the use of the parallel processing and artificial intelligence technology, you can see that nowadays how many technology are invented in the mobile phone also and the PCs also. For example, the humanoid robot named ASIMO, advanced step in innovative mobility development by the Honda. This is a robot is an example of fourth generation. One example of robot is also given to you. Laptop, tablets, notebook, and smartphones are the examples of the fifth generation's computer. Remember all the generation year, development year, which technology is used, which one is the main component of the generation, which are the examples of it, how many instruction will be developed in a second. that will be came in the few one. Okay, now we are learning about the five generations of computer.